Manifestation only feels random when you're unaware of what is actually doing the selecting. The moment you believe reality is responding unpredictably, you've already assumed the most comforting lie: that nothing inside you is responsible for the timing, the pattern, or the repetition. Randomness feels safer than precision, because precision implies responsibility at a level most people have never been taught to access. Think about it carefully. If manifestation were truly random, there would be no patterns, no recurring delays, no familiar disappointments wearing different masks, no situations that feel uncannily similar even though the details change. Random systems do not repeat themes. They scatter, yet most lives don't scatter. They loop. What people call bad luck, good timing, or the universe playing games is almost always the same internal configuration, replaying itself through different circumstances. The field is not improvising. It is responding with mathematical consistency to a signal that rarely changes as much as the person believes it does. This is uncomfortable to hear because it challenges the idea that effort alone should be enough, that wanting something deeply should count for something, that visualizing harder or believing more intensely should override everything else. But the quantum field does not respond to emotional intensity. It responds to coherence. From a quantum perspective, coherence means that the observer is not sending mixed instructions. From a neurological perspective, it means the nervous system is not oscillating between safety and threat while asking for expansion. From a practical perspective, it means your inner state is predictable, not dramatic. Most people unknowingly live in contradiction. They ask for change while their body remains braced for disappointment. They want ease while their nervous system stays addicted to urgency. They imagine freedom while their identity remains anchored to control. The mind says one thing, the body prepares for another. The field listens to the body. This is why manifestation feels inconsistent, not because it is unreliable, but because the signal is fragmented. Neuroscience shows that the nervous system prioritizes familiarity over desire. If your system learned early that unpredictability, delay, or struggle were normal, it will unconsciously recreate those conditions even while consciously wanting something else. Not as punishment, but as regulation. Familiar stress feels safer than unfamiliar ease. So when something good begins to form, subtle interference appears. You rush, you overthink, you check, you seek confirmation. These micro-actions don't feel like sabotage. They feel responsible. But each one slightly destabilizes coherence, and the field adjusts accordingly. From the outside, it looks random. From the inside, it's precise. The quantum field does not ask whether you deserve something. It does not measure how long you've waited or how much you've suffered. It mirrors the most stable version of you available in that moment. Stability is the key word most people overlook. Stability does not mean positivity. It means consistency. A calm, grounded nervous system with clear expectation collapses reality far faster than an emotional system swinging between hope and fear. This is why some people seem to manifest without effort, not because they know secret techniques, but because their internal state does not contradict itself. Their signal is clean. There is no internal debate running in the background. No bracing, no waiting energy. Waiting energy is one of the strongest disruptors of manifestation. Waiting implies distance. Distance implies lack. Lack introduces tension, and tension fragments frequency. The moment you wait for reality to prove something, you subtly tell the field you are not ready to receive it yet. This doesn't mean you should pretend not to want things. It means desire must exist without urgency, intention without attachment, expectation without monitoring. Most people have never experienced this state for long enough to recognize it, so they assume manifestation is random. They don't realize that reality is responding with absolute accuracy to an internal environment they've never learned how to observe. The moment you understand this, a different question appears. Not how do I manifest faster, but what inside me keeps changing the signal. Because once you identify that, randomness disappears, and manifestation stops being something that happens to you and becomes something that reflects you. What people call luck is almost never luck. It's pattern recognition happening too fast for the conscious mind to track. When someone seems to always be in the right place at the right time, it's not because reality favors them. It's because their internal system sends a stable signal long enough for the field to organize around it. The universe does not reward effort. It responds to predictability. This is difficult to accept because predictability sounds boring, mechanical, almost lifeless. But in quantum terms, predictability is coherence. It means the observer is not collapsing one possibility while unconsciously canceling it with another. It means the internal environment is not oscillating between opposing emotional states. From a neuroscience perspective, this predictability lives in the nervous system, not the intellect. Your nervous system is constantly asking one question: is it safe to move forward? And it answers that question through sensation, not logic. If the body senses threat, instability, or overload, it will slow everything down, even opportunities you consciously want. This is why timing feels off for so many people. They intellectually desire change, but their nervous system is still calibrated to survival. Survival mode prioritizes control, caution, and repetition. Expansion requires openness, flexibility, and trust. These two states cannot operate at full strength simultaneously, so the field compromises. It delivers partial results, delays outcomes, sends opportunities that almost fit, but not quite. From the outside, this looks like randomness. From the inside, it's regulation. Quantum physics supports this. The observer effect shows that observation itself influences outcome. But observation isn't just attention, it's emotional charge. If observation carries tension, expectation, or fear of loss, the wave function does not collapse cleanly. It flickers, it destabilizes, and the result feels inconsistent. This is why trying harder often backfires. Effort increases emotional charge. Emotional charge increases internal noise. Noise reduces coherence. And reduced coherence produces erratic outcomes. People who experience luck are not passive. They are regulated. Their nervous system remains steady even when outcomes are uncertain. They don't rush to fill silence. They don't interpret delays as danger. They don't tighten when something good begins to form. That steadiness becomes their signature. Over time, reality learns how to respond to them efficiently. Not because reality is conscious in a human way, but because coherent systems synchronize naturally. The field reflects what is stable because stability is easy to mirror. This is why sharing intentions too early often disrupts manifestation. When you externalize something that is still stabilizing internally, you invite feedback, doubt, and comparison. The nervous system reacts. Micro-adjustments begin. Coherence drops. The signal changes. People think they jinxed it. In truth, they destabilized it. Neuroscience shows that verbalizing goals activates social evaluation circuits in the brain. These circuits are tied to survival and belonging. Once activated, the body begins preparing for judgment instead of outcome. Frequency shifts subtly, but enough to alter the field's response. This is why silence is powerful, not mystical. Silence protects coherence. It allows the nervous system to adapt to a new possibility without interference. It gives the field time to organize without contradiction. Manifestation stops being random when the internal signal stops changing every time something happens. Most people unknowingly reset their frequency dozens of times a day. A thought of doubt, a moment of urgency, a comparison, a fear of being behind. None of these feel dramatic, but each one tweaks the signal. The field responds faithfully, and the person calls it coincidence. But coincidence is just causation you didn't observe. When coherence is sustained, even briefly, results accelerate. Not because the universe decides to help, but because the system finally receives clear instructions. The field doesn't need to compensate, delay, or soften delivery. It can respond directly. This is when manifestation stops surprising you. You start to notice a strange pattern. Things arrive shortly after you stop checking. Conversations happen right after you release expectation. Opportunities appear once you feel internally settled. This isn't magic, it's timing, aligning with regulation. The more predictable your internal state becomes, the less random your external reality feels. And this leads to a crucial realization. If randomness disappears with coherence, then the real skill is not manifestation itself. It's mastering the internal condition that makes manifestation unnecessary to force. Because once that condition stabilizes, reality doesn't need reminders. It already knows how to respond to you. Manifestation stops being random the moment you master one internal skill that almost no one is taught to develop: sustained self-coherence. Not motivation, not belief, not discipline, coherence. The ability to remain internally aligned across thought, emotion, body, and expectation long enough for reality to organize around you. Most people experience coherence in flashes: a good meditation, a moment of clarity, a surge of confidence, and then it disappears, not because they failed, but because their system was never trained to hold it. Coherence feels unfamiliar to a nervous system conditioned by instability, urgency, and constant self-correction. From a neurological standpoint, coherence means the brain is no longer sending conflicting predictions to the body. The prefrontal cortex, emotional centers, and autonomic nervous system are operating in agreement. When this happens, the body stops preparing for threat while the mind asks for expansion. There is no internal tug of war. This matters because the nervous system is the true interface with reality. It decides what feels possible, safe, and available long before conscious intention enters the picture. If the nervous system senses incoherence, it limits receptivity, not as punishment, but as protection. Quantum physics mirrors this perfectly. A system cannot collapse into a stable outcome while oscillating between contradictory states. When the observer is emotionally divided, the probability field remains unstable. Outcomes form, dissolve, and reform. This instability is experienced as randomness. Coherence ends that oscillation. But here's the part most people misunderstand. Coherence is not a feeling you chase. It's a capacity you train. It's the ability to remain internally settled even when circumstances are unresolved, to hold desire without tension, to hold uncertainty without bracing. This is why visualization alone doesn't work for most people. Visualization activates imagery, but it doesn't necessarily regulate the body. If the body remains tense, the visualization becomes another form of effort. Effort introduces noise. Noise disrupts coherence. The same applies to affirmations. Repeating words while the nervous system is unconvinced creates internal contradiction. The mind says one thing, the body prepares for another. The field listens to the body. Mastery begins when you stop trying to override this process and start working with it. Sustained coherence is built through micro-choices, not grand rituals. How you breathe when nothing is happening, how you respond when plans change, how quickly you soften after stress. These moments train the nervous system to trust stability instead of urgency. Neuroscience shows that repetition of regulated states rewires baseline perception. Over time, the brain stops expecting disruption. It stops preparing for disappointment. And because it stops preparing, it stops interfering. This is when manifestation stops surprising you. You'll notice that outcomes no longer feel dramatic. They feel logical, timely, almost obvious in hindsight. The mind tries to label this as coincidence, but it's not. It's coherence expressing itself externally. Another critical aspect of mastery is containment. Not everything needs to be shared. Not every intention needs validation. When you keep something internal long enough for it to stabilize, you protect its signal. The nervous system adapts quietly. Frequency settles without disturbance. This is why the most aligned shifts often happen in silence. When coherence becomes your default, you stop chasing confirmation. You don't need signs. You don't need reassurance. The body already knows what it's holding. And because it knows, it doesn't ask reality to prove anything prematurely. At this stage, manifestation is no longer something you do. It's something you allow. The field responds smoothly because there is nothing inside you contradicting the outcome. Randomness disappears not because life becomes predictable, but because you do. Your reactions stabilize, your expectations clarify. Your nervous system learns that expansion does not require defense. And reality, always mirroring the most stable signal, responds accordingly. This is the real secret behind consistency, not control, not effort, but internal agreement. Once thought, body, and expectation stop arguing with each other, the field has no mixed instructions to resolve. And that's when manifestation stops being a mystery and starts behaving like a law. One of the fastest ways to lose coherence is to externalize something that hasn't finished stabilizing internally. This is where most people unknowingly break their own signal. They confuse expression with integration. They assume that saying something out loud makes it more real. In reality, it often makes it more fragmented. When you speak about an intention too early, your nervous system doesn't hear confidence. It hears exposure. Exposure activates social evaluation circuits in the brain. These circuits evolved to protect belonging and status, not expansion. The moment they activate, the body subtly shifts from internal alignment to external monitoring. You're no longer holding the signal. You're managing perception. From a neurological standpoint, this is critical. Once social evaluation activates, the nervous system begins preparing for feedback, approval, doubt, comparison. Even supportive responses create stimulation. That stimulation destabilizes the internal environment that was allowing coherence to form. This is why people often say things fell apart after they told someone. Nothing mystical happened. The nervous system simply shifted states. Regulation gave way to anticipation. Anticipation introduced tension. Tension changed frequency, and the field adjusted instantly. From a quantum perspective, this is observer interference. You invited additional observers before the probability collapsed. Each observer carries emotional charge, expectation, interpretation. The field now has to reconcile multiple inputs instead of one coherent signal. This is why silence has always been emphasized in spiritual traditions, not as secrecy, but as containment. Silence allows coherence to consolidate. It gives the nervous system time to accept a new identity without having to defend it. Silence is not hiding. It's incubation. Most people are uncomfortable with this because silence removes validation, and validation has become a substitute for internal stability. When someone agrees with us, the nervous system relaxes temporarily. When they question us, it tightens. Either way, regulation is outsourced. Mastery means regulation stays internal. This doesn't mean isolation, it means discernment. You don't share from uncertainty, you share from completion. When something is fully integrated, speaking about it no longer destabilizes it because the nervous system isn't seeking reinforcement. This is why aligned people often speak less about what they're creating, not because they're secretive, but because there's nothing to prove. The signal is already stable. Neuroscience confirms this pattern. When an internal state is fully embodied, external feedback has minimal impact on nervous system regulation. The brain no longer treats opinions as threats or confirmations. It treats them as information. This is the difference between confidence and coherence. Confidence can still be reactive. Coherence is neutral. When coherence is present, you don't feel the urge to explain yourself. Explanation is often a sign of internal doubt. The body senses uncertainty and tries to resolve it through language. But language introduces more variables. Containment removes variables. This is why mastery feels quiet. There is no rush to announce shifts, no need to update others, no compulsion to label what's happening. The nervous system is already settled into the new frequency, and because it's settled, it doesn't look outward for stabilization. From the field's perspective, this is ideal. There is one clean signal, no contradiction, no oscillation, no recalibration required. Reality responds efficiently. Most people think manifestation fails because they didn't believe enough or visualize clearly. In truth, it fails because they kept destabilizing the signal through external engagement. They talked themselves out of coherence without realizing it. Once you understand this, behavior changes naturally. You pause before sharing. You feel when something needs more internal time. You stop seeking reactions. You protect your internal environment the same way you would protect a seed before it roots. And when you do share, it's different. There's no emotional charge, no urgency, no need for agreement. Words land without weight because the outcome no longer depends on them. This is silence as power. Not silence born of fear, but silence born of completion. And when completion is present internally, reality doesn't need explanation. It responds. Mastery does not make you rigid. In fact, one of the clearest signs that coherence is real is how flexible you become. You don't withdraw from life. You engage more fully, just without leaking your signal. This is where many people misunderstand silence and containment. They assume it means closing off. It doesn't. It means staying internally anchored while remaining externally available. When coherence is embodied, you can interact without absorbing noise. Conversations no longer pull you out of center. Opinions don't destabilize you. Emotional environments don't hijack your state. This is not emotional numbness. It's nervous system maturity. From a neurological perspective, this happens when regulation becomes baseline instead of effort. The vagal system stays active even during stimulation. The body remains open, but not reactive. You can listen without preparing a defense. You can speak without managing perception. You can move through complexity without fragmenting. This is the opposite of detachment. It's presence without entanglement. Most people either overengage or withdraw completely. Overengagement floods the nervous system. Withdrawal starves it. Coherence lives in the middle. You participate, but you don't merge. You care, but you don't cling. You respond, but you don't over-identify. This is why mastery feels grounded, not elevated. There is no sense of being above life. There is a sense of being inside it, calmly. From a quantum perspective, this matters because entanglement changes outcomes. Emotional entanglement collapses probability prematurely or inconsistently. When you are entangled with reactions, validation, or outcomes, the field has to keep recalibrating around your shifting state. But when you remain present without attachment, probability collapses smoothly. This is how manifestation becomes reliable. You'll notice this in small, ordinary moments first. Someone says something that once would have triggered you, and it doesn't. A delay occurs, and you don't interpret it. An opportunity appears, and you don't rush to secure it. These moments seem insignificant, but they are markers of internal stability. Each time you remain coherent in a moment where you previously would have reacted, the nervous system updates its model of reality. It learns that regulation does not require control. It learns that openness does not equal danger, and that learning is permanent. Over time, this creates a profound shift in how life responds to you. People become clearer with you. Situations resolve faster. Timing improves, not because you are doing anything differently on the surface, but because internally there is no resistance to movement. The field does not need to compensate for internal friction. This is also where intuition sharpens, not because you are more spiritual, but because noise has dropped. When the nervous system is calm, perception widens. You notice subtle cues. You sense when to act and when to wait without analysis. This replaces